command once that confirmation is made?
Correct.
State law and constitutional protections prohibit local officers from questioning individuals about their immigration status during routine police interactions unless it's directly relevant to an investigation. Can you confirm that Bell Gardens PD officers are trained to follow this directive and refrain from immigration-related questioning?
That's correct. So our officers currently receive training from our BGPD policy 414, and then also we go over the SB 54 Values Act. In addition, POST also requires us to look at videos that they provide. So we receive training in all this.
Thank you. The California Values Act, SB 54, restricts information sharing between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities, including details about release dates or personal information, unless there's a judicial warrant. Is BGPD in compliance with this law?
We are, ma'am.
Given the growing number of community reports regarding individuals claiming to be ICE agents operating in unmarked vehicles without proper identification, do you agree that it is within Bell Gardens PD duty to document these incidents and verify their legitimacy when public safety is at risk?
Correct.
Given that Bell Gardens PD is permitted to lawfully engage, verify identification, and ensure public safety when community members report unidentified individuals acting under the color of law without obstructing federal operations, are officers specifically trained to respond appropriately with this limited but crucial scope?
Yes, ma'am.
To avoid confusion or potential liability, are all Bell Gardens PD officers explicitly instructed to decline any requests to assist with immigration enforcement by ICE and to immediately refer such situations to command staff or legal counsel?
Correct.
Lastly, it has come to the public's attention that Bell Gardens PD officers were recently observed providing support along LAPD and Bell Police Department officers. Can you please clarify the scope and purpose of our mutual aid agreement with neighboring agencies, the importance of such agreements for regional public safety, and confirm that Bell Gardens PD's presence in these instances was solely to assist local law enforcement, not federal immigration authorities, and to ensure the safety and well-being of our residents?
Yes, and if I could take the time to kind of just elaborate on that. So Los Angeles County law enforcement agencies, including the sheriffs and the other 47 independent city police departments, operate under a formal mutual aid agreement to assist each other during major unplanned events, and it exceeds the single agency's capacity. So in other words, for example, what happened on Friday, the city of Bell had a mutual aid, they activated mutual aid. We're under Area E, and so we are pretty much obligated to send 50% of our staff to assist. They were requesting assistance because they were overwhelmed with the crowd, with the incident that happened with the ICE agents. So we have an obligation because this is a two-way street. And we, for example, when we had the actual demonstration last week on Friday and Saturday, there was a point where I only had 8 to 10 officers on duty. And keep in mind that we're still responding for calls of service. So if at any point that crowd would have gone out of control, then I would have also activated mutual aid. And then everybody in the Area E that we belong to would have sent us 50% of their staff. So I'm obligated, for example, if I have 8 officers working that day, four of them will leave to assist that agency, and then it works both ways. I would also get the same support from all the mutual Area E agencies. And so if I could just talk a little bit more about, when we get to the agencies that are requesting mutual aid, we're only there to assist. The primary agency will always take the lead on whatever that is. So there's a lot of respects among us here in the Southeast. We have an association that I belong to, the Southeast Chiefs. So everybody is pretty much on board, and everybody knows that at any given time, small agencies like us, we need to have this understanding and help each other out.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. And I think it's important that, we review these questions so that we know what our local law enforcement is able to do. And you just mentioned Sela. I know that us as elected officials in the Sela region are really trying to work together to ensure that we're helping our residents. So, thank you, Chief, for answering those questions and clarifying some of that.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. De Leon Sanchez. Anybody else have any questions or want to jump in on this? This is difficult, and I think that it's very tough for us as cities, as electeds, as the representatives of the community, to sort of respond to a lot of what our community is asking us for. It is really individually, us as council, us as electeds, to put ourselves out there and to really engage with a lot of what's going on with ICE or with these bounty hunters or whatever you want to call them. And in part, I want to have this discussion to the points that Dr. De Leon Sanchez brought up, because it's important to know what the law states. And we have to work within what's in the law. The last thing we want, the last thing anybody on this dais wants, is to have the Department of Justice, ICE, the federal government, taking our community. I don't want that. I don't like to see it. I don't want it here. I've made it clear that if at any point ICE, the bounty hunters, Marshal, Department of Homeland Security, I'm making myself as a resource to go out, to document, to record, to be active in that scene. And there are nonprofits that currently do that through CHIRLA, through the Rapid Response Network, where there is a number you can dial, and they'll immediately respond to that. The thing we want here as an official agency, as the government, as the government of the city of Bell Gardens, is we want to know how our Bell Gardens police, who are the ones who protect this community, can do more aside from what's already dictated here on paper in these laws, right? If I call the Bell Gardens police, or if any resident calls and says, hey, there's this group, they're masked up, they have guns, they have tinted windows, they have no license plates, and I call it into the Bell Gardens Police Department, what does the Bell Gardens Police Department do when that happens?
Mayor Chavez, so with a scenario like that, we're obligated and we would respond to the call for service and to investigate that they are going to be legitimate, bona fide police officers, whether they're with the state or within the federal government. But I won't be able to tell the reporting party once I find out who they are. The only thing I'll be able to let them know is that everything is okay, but I won't be able to share because I would be interfering and I would be obstructing justice.
Okay, so it seems that you can't tell us, or the community, whoever called that in, you can't tell them, you can't confirm whether or not it is another government, another agency, any federal agency. You can't confirm that.
The thing that we could do as your police department would be that if the call comes in and that reporting party is concerned whether there is a suspicious vehicle in front of their house with dark tint, paper plates, there's somebody in there, we will go out and verify who they are. But once we verify it, and if they are within that umbrella of law enforcement, we're not going to be able to share anything else. But at least we could somehow keep that resident at peace and let them know that it's okay, you know, whether they want to leave or they want to continue being parked there, then that's going to be up to them. If there is now somebody at their door and they got maybe a vest, but there is nothing on it, and they're saying that they're from this law enforcement agency, if they call, we will go out and we will verify it. And then once that verification is made, unfortunately, we cannot interfere with the investigation, and we would have to, pretty much remove ourselves from that scenario now.
If there's a situation in which these imposters, or because there's no way of confirming us as residents, as community, we do not know whether or not they claim who say they are, because they don't identify themselves, they don't talk, they have these uniforms, but they don't, I wouldn't even call it a uniform, it's just a vest, and maybe it says law enforcement or police. Clearly, from my understanding of police, the police doesn't act that way, right? And you certainly don't cover your face, and that's what's happening right now. What if I get pulled over, or if they block my vehicle throughout the city, and I'm forcibly asked to leave or to get out of the car, or they're not even allowing me to ask questions, because the idea was that we had these red cards, and these red cards were supposed to help us out in a case if we ever interacted with somebody who claims to be ICE. But clearly the rights of those individuals who are trying to use their rights, they're being violated literally by violence, physically. They're pulling people out of vehicles, they're smashing windows. At that point, what response can the police department do when we want answers, right? The community is actively scared, and the only thing that we had to defend ourselves was these red cards, or these rights that we quote unquote have, that are clearly being violated in this situation. If I were to call 911 in that moment, when that situation is happening, what happens there?
So I seen the videos that you're describing, and I would agree with you that it's very chaotic. There's a lot of them that don't have what we would recommend or what we would demand, because we do have actually under the penal code that I had to identify myself as a police officer. If you look at my uniform, I need to somehow maybe delay the process, because then I would be interfering with their investigation. What I could do is I could probably, our officers, and they're trained to do this, and we're already doing this, we would just take a moment to let everybody kind of know we're there, pause, and verify that in fact they're not impersonating law enforcement. But once it's been, we'll say, completed, and then we verify their law enforcement, then we got to let them do their job, and I can't interfere with that.
Thank you so much for that, Chief. Anybody else want to jump in and have any questions?
I think it's difficult, right? Because we obviously want to see more happen. But once again, we all have a certain duty, a certain responsibility. And the call to action for me right now is, if you're seeing something, call 911 so that they're able to go and verify, honk your horn, make noise. Like, community needs to come together, because yes, we have a police department, but there's more residents in the city than there are other people, right? And by the time the police gets there, sometimes maybe the situation is out of hand already, where those individuals have left, and we don't know who these individuals are at times. We don't know what's going on. So, I say, we really need to come together, as a community, so that we're able to overcome this. And as an individual, right, not as a city council member, but as an individual resident here, there's certain things that I can do. May I be obstructing justice? Yeah, possibly. But that's a choice that I'm making, right? And I would not feel comfortable asking my colleagues to do that, if they don't feel comfortable doing that. And I don't feel comfortable asking our police department to obstruct justice, because there's certain consequences that come with that. But me as an individual, I can choose to do that if I felt the need.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. De Leon Sanchez. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you for mentioning that, Dr. De Leon Sanchez. We both had a conversation about this, exploring options as to what can we do, what can't we do, what can we do within the legal parameters, and considering what is considered risky, actions, right? Um, this whole situation is totally unprecedented, and I think it's key to remind ourselves, right? Like you mentioned, Dr. De Leon Sanchez, separating the what we do as individuals, and also as decision makers in the city. So yes, it comes down to being in the front line and communicating as much with the residents one on one, and informing ourselves as much as possible. So with that said, I've been thinking about options, right, that we can help our residents, and and even safe zones are one thing to consider. If we can probably establish some areas, and have those serve as shelters for our community, and many of our ideas require money. I spoke with Jorge about some ideas, and and I think it would be wise to talk about our budget, and seeing where we can allocate some resources throughout this urgency, right? Jorge and I have had difficult conversations about this, and I think it's worthwhile exploring that, and bring in these solutions, and support mechanisms to our city.
As you guys mentioned, I think the hardest part about this would be the battle between having a moral compass and the legalities of this. La última cosa que yo quisiera es poner a nuestro departamento en una situación difícil, porque como ustedes han visto, las que están aquí, ellos siempre están ahí para nosotros, para nuestra comunidad. Cuando los necesitamos, ellos están ahí para responder. Y al momento de responder a una situación así, por decir, I don't know how you say obstruction of justice in Spanish. Obstrucción de justicia. We wouldn't have a department to defend us, para hacer esas verificaciones, para respaldarnos, para poder respaldar que en sí tenemos a alguien que sí está ahí, por decir, haciendo su trabajo. Pero como digo, esta situación en sí es muy difícil. Muchos saben que esto es mi día a día. De 8 a 5 trabajo en temas migratorios. Es devastante, es aterrante tener que ver que día a día los números suben, las deportaciones incrementan. Tengo que decirle a las familias que todo está bien, y tener que enfrentarlo como líder ante mi comunidad. Esto no está bien, la verdad. Sí afecta, y usted nos compartió su historia, y la verdad lo siento mucho. Gracias por compartir, por tener el valor de presentarse aquí. No sé, solamente usted sabe de dónde sacó ese valor. Dios le dio ese valor, y la verdad, no sé si ya habló con nuestro alcalde, pero a ver cómo la podemos ayudar con recursos. Se queda poquito después para poder platicar con usted.
Thank you so much for that, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilwoman Guillen. This is such a difficult topic, and because we have and I get it. I completely understand the law, and I understand that there's parameters, and there's only so much our chief can do, or our police department. But what we're seeing is completely unacceptable. And I don't want to see this continually happening in Bell Gardens or anywhere in Southeast Los Angeles, because we see our neighbors going through the same thing. And we're scrambling. We're trying to figure out what can we do, the amount of messages and outreach and support and right. And I appreciate the comments that were made and about the video and going out there and sort of telling ICE que se fuera, right? Because we don't want him here. And I believe that it's my duty as your mayor, as your leader within this city, to represent you, when we were out there protesting on Eastern and Florence Friday and Saturday last week, and I want to recognize Kenya, who started it. It's powerful, the amount of community that's willing to go behind this issue and support our undocumented brothers and sisters and siblings that are going through this. I don't even want to just say undocumented, because they're taking citizens. They're taking citizens. I don't know, and legal's probably gonna advise not to speak about this, but it's difficult, especially because in my position, in this where I put myself vulnerable in a space where I feel that I now have a target on my back from the federal government for what I did, and I spoke up. There has been a lot of discussion, and the last thing anybody wants, is for them to continually come into this city. And there's only so much, again, within the parameters of the law that we can do. What I would love, ideally, in my scenario, I would love to see our Bell Gardens Police Department go out there and stop these people in the middle of when they're chasing our community. Because what we're seeing in car washes, what we're seeing at restaurants, what we're seeing in Home Depots, in Lowe's, it's completely unacceptable. And I would understand if they're chasing criminals and the bad folks and everybody who has a long list. I understand that part. But clearly what's happening is that's not the case. That's not the case. They're going after youth. We all saw what happened in Pico Rivera with the young man at the Walmart, right? So and excuse my language, it pisses me off when I see this. It hurts me because you all are my people. I represent all of you. I took an oath to serve this community, and I can only do so much as your leader in this city, aside from using my own voice. So when we did protest, everybody was peaceful. For the most part, everybody was peaceful. We did have some folks, right, from other areas, and after 10 o'clock, it gets a little bit wild. But hey, I said, everybody, we're gonna be out here, keep it peaceful till 9 o'clock. We were out there for 8 to 10 hours, both Saturday and Sunday, Friday and Saturday, and we had a great time. On Friday, we had Councilwoman De Leon Sanchez join me, and then I know for the next day on Saturday, we had Councilwoman Isabel Guillen and Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa join us, and the community's so united behind this issue. So I want you all to know that we want to do everything we can to continue to protect all of you, because I take it personal when I see this happening. As a son of a former undocumented, my mom was formerly undocumented when she came to this country. Now she's an American citizen. I put myself in your situation. I think about our resident Esther, who came up and who shared her concern, and I think about what went through her mind when she saw this happening right there in our city on Ajax and Engage, right here in this community, in my backyard. And it pisses me off because I almost want to go out there and stand in front of the vehicle and tell them not to go. So that's why I've been making calls to action. I've been sharing with residents. In the first video I did last week, people have been very supportive, as I mentioned, and I make a call. In the beginning, I said, document, record, use your voice, get out there, because that's what we have as our tools. Because our rights are being violated, whether we're citizens or we're not, right now in this moment. And this isn't coming from somebody who is undocumented. Like, I'm a citizen. I'm the mayor of this city, and I feel that way. I'm afraid that if I go out there again and I record them, or I feel if I go out and I put myself in that position, that what if they go after me? What representation am I going to have for this community as your mayor? Your mayor is going to be gone, and I don't know where. We just heard he's in El Paso. I cannot be your mayor in El Paso, especially locked behind bars. And I don't want that for me, not for any of my colleagues, not for our city manager, our legal counsel, especially not for our officers who are in this position. So again, at this point where we are in these circumstances, we have to stay safe. That's why I put out this video today. We have to stay safe. If you don't have to go outside, don't go outside, please. Especially if you have vulnerable community members, right? Those folks that perhaps only watch the TV and they can't get on social media. They don't know where ICE is in this moment. Or these imposters, these folks that impersonate, because we don't know if they're bounty hunters or not, right? So that's why I want to pivot, and I want to give direction to our city staff to begin to shift a lot of the programming that we had for a lot of the events coming up. For a lot of the spring, like the Spring Festival, the summer concerts and movies, we saw last week. We had a concert. I appreciate those that went, but I know I saw Councilwoman Dr. De Leon Sanchez there. But compared to our usual concert size, there was people are afraid. People are afraid, and I totally understand that. So I want to shift resources. I want to organize. I want to create a list of deliverables that include, from this point on, providing delivery services for essential goods throughout the city. I know that there are some nonprofits that are already doing that, so maybe perhaps reaching out to them, maybe perhaps bringing forward an MOU between them and us. I want to make a call to all the community to volunteer your time in these moments. And this will be delivery service specifically to the Bell Gardens area. I've spoken with residents. I know Councilwoman Dr. De Leon Sanchez has been out there doing deliveries herself, right? That a lot of times are not seen. But she's out there putting them out. She's out there delivering these goods to the community. So I want to create this task force per se, this committee, where we deliver groceries, food, medications, and any necessities for residents, right? We're thinking diapers, baby formula, anything for their kids as well. And we have to act in this moment where we ourselves as city government, if we can't go and stop if we can't go and stop ICE, DHS, these bounty hunters, we can at least service the people of this community by shifting our resources. So delivering those services. I know that the first of the month is coming. I know that a lot of renters live in this city and they're living paycheck to paycheck. I don't even want to say paycheck to paycheck, because I said in the last meeting they're getting paid cash because they work as day laborers and they don't get a paycheck. So I potentially want to explore either creating a fund for rental assistance. I know we have rent stabilization and just cause evictions for a lot of our residents, but continuing exploring that further. I know that there has been folks that reached out about creating a rental moratorium citywide. I think we can study that and explore if that's something that we want to pursue in the future. Again, this is just, we can discuss this, but that would be the second thing. And then finally, as far as the Bell Gardens Police Department, I want to thank you for coming out on Friday, on Saturday, when we had the protest and rally. People love that you're there. People feel safe that you're there. I feel safe. For those that don't know, I was assaulted in the rally. Some person came up, grabbed me, right? And luckily, community right away stepped in. Immediately, PD came in, took the individual. It seems like they were under some sort of substance. And later that night, that individual came forward and actually apologized to me, right? So, and I also want to thank Councilwoman Dr. De Leon Sanchez, who actually saw that happen. It did kind of shake me up being in that environment, but for the most part, I consider my community peaceful, and we're there just to show and express our feelings and emotion. As this is a developing story, right? This is developing every day. The calls that we've been on with legal counsel and the city manager, and it's just every day there's something new. I believe we're going to get direction soon. I hope that this ends. Between now and then, we will continue to do everything we can in our power to protect those that are the most vulnerable. I want to share one final thing. There are a coalition of cities that are in discussion phases about doing something together, including our city. I can't get into the details further, but this is something that we're exploring. And it's similar to what Councilwoman Dr. De Leon Sanchez mentioned about joining forces with other cities, but something perhaps to the court system, because we have to look towards the courts. So with that said, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope that legal counsel says, hey, you didn't say too much or you didn't say too little, because, again, it's all delicate. This is all developing. But that's kind of what we're looking at. And between now and then, we got to continue looking after our siblings and our brothers and sisters in the community, documented or undocumented. If there's anybody else who wants to make a comment, yeah, Councilwoman Leon Sanchez.
For those of you that are not aware and you are residents of this community, there is a group, an organization that's been around for a long time called Southeast Leadership Network. That is an organization that's been getting groceries, and I've been helping deliver to the communities, not just here in Bell Gardens. We've gone all the way to San Fernando Valley, believe it or not. So if you or you know somebody in need, all they have to do is contact us via social media. If they don't have social media, contact me directly. And we don't engage because some of them are really scared. We literally knock on the door, leave the food at the doorstep, and then, you know, they get it. So if you know anybody that needs that service, please, please, please reach out to me.
Thank you so much, Mayor Chavez, for that statement. Additionally, I would want to also explore fiscally, you know, what can be done, see what money, what funds we can squeeze from the budget, and you know, responsibly invested in programming. You know, just to explore the options and see what can be done in that regard. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Councilwoman Dr. De Leon Sanchez, and then also Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa. All right. Anybody else want to make a comment? All right. Seeing none, I believe there's enough direction, City Manager. I just want to, if you want to add anything in terms of enforcement or things that we've been doing as a city.
I think, Mayor, you know, a lot of the things that we've been doing that we've been talking about for the last 5 or 6 months have been in anticipation of what's happening now. So that would be the workshops with the MAOF, the workshops with the various legal aid groups that have come out, tell people. But you know, all those are great in advance, but they don't really help once, you know, people are showing up, arresting people. So you know, I think we obviously have to keep doing that, keep putting those resources out there, keep providing the red card so people have some, you know, some ability or way to have some confidence to respond if they're engaged. Even if it doesn't end up being successful, it's at least empowering them to some degree. And I think with the direction that we've received from the council, there are more things that we can do. And then I think just continuing to monitor potential legislative fixes that are out there. I was corresponding with the city attorney about a no vigilante law that's a state bill that I just saw a couple hours ago has been proposed to require identification from law enforcement that are operating within the state of California. The assumption is maybe that will be, you know, the feds will either sue or have a carve-out exemption, but you know, to keep monitoring to see if there's things that the city can do at a local level that maybe can't be done at the state level, and you know, keep pushing forward with these ideas and the direction that you've given here, in addition to continuing to doing the things that we've been doing up until now.
Thank you for that, City Manager. One final thing I want to add to our police department. There is a lot of hope in our officers. You are literally the line of defense for a lot of these residents. We scramble. We don't know what to do. We don't know who to go to. In emergencies, we go to you. And I've said it before. You're the only department that's functioning 24/7. Doesn't matter what day it is. 365 days of the year. So know that our community is counting on our officers here. I appreciate all the work that's been done. I would ask for continuous streamlined communication between the residents. If we get a call about suspicious vehicles that show up in our city, and even if they don't even say the word ICE, or they just say it's a suspicious vehicle, I'm going to be urging residents to give us a call, because we expect the Bell Gardens Police Department to respond. Same thing with tinted windows, no license plate vehicles going through red lights. We want those laws to be enforced throughout the city, and if it happens to be that it is ICE, a follow-up call saying, hey, we responded, and that's it. That's the bare minimum to an extent that we could say something. From that point on, it's up to us as council, and it's up to us as representatives here to take it from there, right? If we want to go out there, like Councilwoman Tertulon Sanchez mentioned, and also Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa, and I believe Councilwoman Guillen, it's up to us if we want to go out and engage and record and do the whole thing. Yeah, thank you.
If I could say something, Mayor Chavez, on behalf of the men and women of the Bell Gardens Police Department, we understand and we're empathetic with the residents. I want everyone to know that we also take this very personal, because a lot of us have family members that are also being affected by this. I could reassure not only the community, but you guys as the elected officials and leaders that we took an oath to do our job, and that's what we're going to do. I just want the community to understand that we've been working, at least I can speak for myself, I've been here 23 years, and I have such great relationship with this community that it frustrates me, because, you know, there's also that possibility that people are going to start doubting when people are full of fear, anxiety, they start believing things that are not real. And that's where I get a little bit frustrated, because some of the stuff that you see on social media is not fair for us. Having stuff like there's a checkpoint between ICE and, you know, Bell Gardens PD at Garfield and Gage, absolutely not. That doesn't help anybody. It's already bad enough that the community is going through anxiety and fear, and now you have somebody that's behind a keyboard and is just typing out nonsense. That doesn't help anybody. Again, on behalf of the men and women of the Bell Gardens Police Department, if you call, we're going to respond and we're going to look into it. And we want to continue this great relationship and partnership we have with the community. When people hear of other cities doing stuff or hear rumors, give us an opportunity where if you want to come to the lobby, or a lot of the residents have our numbers. And if you want to call us, because we have an answer for you. And the answer is, we do not work with ICE. We do not assist with ICE. They're going to leave, and we're going to be behind. And that's what my concern and everybody's concern, that we don't want this great relationship to just be out the door, because we're on the same page. We're on the same team. We don't agree with how things are being done. Thank you for your time, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief, for saying that. Another thing I want to remind staff and remind my colleagues, like, we're the local elected officials here, right? We're boots on the ground. We're seeing it every day with our residents, and we need help. And I made a call to action to our assembly member, Blanca Pacheco. So if you don't know who your assembly member is, it's Blanca Pacheco. Contact her. To our senator, Lina Gonzalez. We need help. You know, what are they doing for us? To our congressman, Robert Garcia, where are you? So all these other elected officials that have more authority than us here at the local level, I'm asking them to help us. Not just our city here, but all of CELA. Because this is where ICE is heavily present. This is where they're attacking us, because we are brown. Because we have brown skin, point blank. So, you know, I'm calling you guys as well to please reach out to them so that they can help us.
Thank you so much for that point, and thank you, Chief, as well, for sharing that. One other thing I wanted to mention for our city staff, the folks that serve our community at the parks, at Public Works, here in the City Hall, and obviously on our recreation and in the PD station in the front. and we've had instances where the federal government wants to intervene and step inside the buildings. I would ask that it be official policy that our city staff not allow ICE or the federal government to enter without having the proper documentation and without properly identifying themselves. That'd be a signed judicial warrant and also presenting themselves with a real badge or some sort of identification. I know that that is something local businesses can do as well, as long as they have a sign that questions when you come in with the intent of what your business is. They're allowed to deny entry. It's difficult when it's like a shopping center, like Food for Less or something. I know we've had instances where people went to hide in the Food for Less and they tried to exit through the back and it was already too late because they centered it. Anywhere where it's open to the public, all of us to just walk in and do business, conduct business, ICE can do that as well. It isn't until you have a sign or some sort of thing that impedes them that says employees only or certified staff only or something that protects whoever's entering that's going to conduct business, that is when you're allowed to reject them from entering. So if possible, if we can create some sort of materials, maybe some sort of flyer or something that we can also hand out to our businesses. And I know that there are other city electeds, I think in nearby in Southeast LA here in Cudahy and Bell, that have created little cards that you can put in your front of your door that lists why the reason, why, to identify yourself as you're coming in. So I believe that we should also create some of those, and I think it'd be a good idea to maybe it doesn't have to be that big. It could be the size of maybe a public comment card. Putting this in the front door, perhaps we can send it out to all residents and just list the rights, right? I know it's difficult in terms of what we can and we can't do. We don't want to, quote unquote, obstruct justice. So I want to make sure that we can do that, at least with city resources. And I would ask that we send this a mailer out immediately that lists. We can touch bases after, but it lists the rights that you have as in your own private home. Because we've seen too many videos of people getting their rights violated. So with that said, that concludes. Go for it.
Talking about the businesses, I do have those posters. I have them in English and in Spanish, double-sided. So any business owner that needs it in our community, please reach out to me, free at no cost. I have them available to you.
Thank you so much for that. Perhaps we can share that, and then we could just create copies of that same one. And I'd say we distribute that to all the residents and all the stakeholders, either via mail, or we can just go, as I know our housing department is currently canvassing for, and I know as they're going, they're also dropping out documentations and flyers. We can drop that as well and for our residents. So just another opportunity for collaboration. So if we can share that. Anybody else want to add anything? Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem.
I also want to take the time to thank the chief for addressing a concern from a citizen that we had over the weekend. He was very informative, and very attentive to the residents' concerns. So thank you so much, Chief. That means a lot. And again, thank you to the men and women of the Bell Gardens Police Department for standing with us, as we were manifesting peacefully. Y a nuestra gente, muchas gracias por atender la junta de hoy. Ya saben, para lo que sea pueden contar con mi apoyo. Mi número directo es 562-525-2318. Pueden referirse al video después de la junta, o nos podemos conocer brevemente después de la junta para seguir platicando y llevar a cabo esta conversación. Se los agradezco mucho, pero pueden contar con nuestro apoyo. Muchas gracias.
All right. Well,
Miguel de la Rosa, 562-525-2318.
Igual, para ese punto, cada quien nosotros tenemos nuestras tarjetas de la ciudad. Ahí también cada uno tenemos nuestro número de celular que nos pueden marcar directamente también. Muchas gracias. Oh, sí. También las cartas están aquí al fuera, al entrar al City Hall. Okay. There's no objection by the members of the City Council. We have to recommendation. All right. Can I get a motion for this item?
Make a motion to receive and file.
We have a motion. I'll go ahead and second. We'll do a vote by voice. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Okay. Moving on to our discussion of the Regional Aquatic Center. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. So this item, you know, I guess I would just first acknowledge, you know, in the order of the way the agenda is, you know, it's probably a little bit difficult to go from, you know, this sobering of a discussion to, you know, an update of the Aquatic Center. So I think what I'll do is ask the Public Works Director and Recreation Community Services Director if they could give maybe a summarized version of this presentation, and then if the council would like some more detail as they move through somewhat quicker than normal, if you could please just stop and ask the question, if that's okay with the mayor and the council.
Thank you.
Thank you. So both directors, if we can be an expedited version of it, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm just going to go through the slides showing the conceptual design. You have seen this before, and it's just something we like to bring up at every update. This slide just shows some of the background as to how we got to our current point. So contract was awarded January 22nd, 2024, and then construction commenced July 8th, 2024. RJM Design Group is our designer of record, and they have kept reviewing the project, not just the project itself, but also making changes as we go and responding to requests for information. Ardura, the construction management and inspection firm, has conducted the required inspections, conducted the necessary weekly progress meetings, and then also coordinated with some of our utilities, along with reviewing some of the changes and requests for information. Over the last 3 months, Bernard's, our contractor, has completed many items. So I'm just going to go through these slides showing the bullet points, starting from the steel columns being erected, the block walls being built, the concrete being poured for the pools. They've also installed inside the building itself the overhead conduits, the HVAC units, and also the metal decking for the roof system, so you can already see the actual building if you were to drive by the street. They've also completed the connections from the individual pools to the equipment room, along with building, whether it's the spray features, the slides, the trimmings for the buildings themselves. And as I mentioned, also the equipment such as the pool heaters and the pool filters being installed. They've finished the piping, the lath and plaster for the building, and they've also completed the planters and installed palm trees, so you can already see the palm trees as well. They've conducted some of the excavation and rebar installation for the monument sign. They have also poured concrete around the amphitheater, geared up for the installation of the electrical lines, and then you can also see the pool tile already being installed. And then they're also beginning some of the last portions of the work, which includes the main 6-inch water lines. You can start seeing the glass panels in the building, and as well as some of the interior features such as doors. So here are some photos of the construction progress. Here's some aerial photographs, bird's eye view, showing what the facility looks like now. And this is a time-lapse video showing the progress today. future, what we anticipate over the last 3 months, we're going to anticipate substantial completion of the project. So that'll include installing the remaining trees, completing the monument sign, installing permanent power for the facility, the shade structures, and towards the end of, beginning of August, the completion of the building construction itself. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Director Nava to talk about programming.
Thank you, Bernie. Just really quickly, just as a reminder, we are currently offering aquatics programming in the city of Montebello at Chet Hollyfield Pool, and we offer swim lessons, which have started for the summer session, and we also offer recreation swim. We have received another grant from LA 84, but this time we've received $25,000 for this summer, which allows us to provide over 825 free swim lessons to the residents of Bell Gardens. This is an increase from last year of $5,000, and staff are really good about getting the word out and getting swimmers in, and so we continue to increase the grants that we receive from LA 84, and we hope to increase that as we continue with our new facility. This is just a reminder about programming and a comparison. I'm just going to go forward with the new aquatic center, and the plan is to offer aquatics programmings that we currently offer, which are swim lessons, rec swim, but we'll add in lap swim, future swim team, water aerobics, as well as weight room classes and community classes, because we'll have a new weight room with our facility. Just to go over really quickly our staff for the new aquatic center, it'll include myself and one full-time staff that oversee the operations, as well as a handful, well, several part-time summer staff and year-round staff to run our pool programming. This is just a brief overview of costs that we currently have for our programming and our future costs, which would include operations, utilities, maintenance, supplies, repairs, as well as staff costs, up about $2.7 million for a 10-month program. And just as a reminder, the budget for our aquatic center is $31.2 million, most of which is covered by various grants from different entities, and approximately $14.6 million from the city's general fund. And then I'll hand it back to Bernie.
Thank you, Liz. So here on this table, we see the project costs. So from inception to date, change order wise, we're at 921,000, and we have about 704,000 remaining, but we're still tracking to finish the project within budget. In conclusion, staff will continue to keep the council informed of the progress, and staff will also seek outside funding sources to minimize the impact to the general fund. It is staff's recommendation that the council receive and file this report, and with that, I will be happy to answer any questions, if any.
Thank you so much to both of you directors. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments regarding the presentation? Alrighty then, thank you so much. Can we get a motion?
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Dr. De Leon Sanchez and a second by Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Okay, moving on to the final item. Council successor agency comments. We'll start off with Councilwoman Guillen.
Well, I want to thank staff for all your support throughout this whole, it's felt like forever with all the chaos going on, but thank you for everything. Mike, thank you. City Attorney, thank you. A la comunidad que vino hoy, gracias. I don't know where to start. It's a lot of mixed emotions. But somebody told me, you know, if you say it out loud, it becomes easier as time goes on. So Les quiero dar las gracias a todos, a todas ustedes, y reconocer and thank you all for your patience throughout this month. La verdad, sí ha sido un mes muy difícil con todo lo que ha pasado, especialmente ya ven, con todos los ataques que ha sufrido nuestra comunidad. Gracias por su paciencia, for your patience. I feel like sometimes the days are better. And sometimes I'm able to talk about it. Hay unos días que sí puedo hablar de ello. Como ustedes saben, mi papá falleció hace poco. Y la verdad, yo siento que la fuerza me la dan ustedes, Dios, y todo lo que me inculcó Él. Les quiero compartir que antes de fallecer, Él me ayudaba a repartir las tarjetas rojas. Y tuve el placer de conocer a la señorita Melissa, quien fue que tuvo el valor de defender al Señor en la bicicleta. No sé si vieron el video en Downey, enfrente de la iglesia. Y me recordó mucho a mi papá porque, como algunos conocen, él solía salir en bicicleta. Me recordó mucho a él y compartí con ella unas palabras. Y creo que en este momento nosotros necesitamos ser Melissa. Necesitamos, como un pueblo, buscar ese coraje y, si podemos, documentar como nuestro alcalde lo ha hecho, y le aplaudo su valor. Si podemos, sin interferir contra la ley, documentar, tener ese valor y enfrentar, por ser la voz que lamentablemente otros no pueden ser. Y bueno, pues ahí termino por hoy, pero les quiero dar las gracias por darme la fortaleza y por apoyarme.
Thank you for that, Councilwoman Guillen. I'll pass it over to Councilwoman Sanchez, Dr. De Leon Sanchez.
Tonight, I want to speak directly to our community, not out of fear, but from a place of strength and unity. Bell Gardens is my home. I love the city deeply. I was raised here, I live here, I serve here, not just as a council member, but someone who understands the heart of this community. That's why I speak with urgency, not with politics. There's a difference between a city leader and a community leader. A city leader writes policies, votes on budgets, and represents constituents. A community leader walks the streets, answers calls at night, shows up when people are scared, and speaks when others stay silent. I strive every day to be both. I sit here before you, not just as an elected official, but a proud daughter of immigrant parents. I'm here because they crossed borders, so I could have a voice. Like so many of you, I carry that struggle. their sacrifice, their strength in everything that I do. And it's that strength that fuels me tonight. Right now, we must come together, not just to protest, but to protect. We need to look out for one another. Check in on your neighbors. Share information. If you see something suspicious, such as masked individuals in unmarked vehicles detaining people on our streets, don't stay quiet. Honk your horn. Warn others. Record if it's safe to do so. Speak up. Because what we're witnessing isn't public safety. It's intimidation. It's trauma. And it has no place in Bell Gardens. I want to make it clear. I stand with our Bell Gardens Police Department. I respect the work that our officers do every single day to keep our communities and neighborhoods safe. I ask the community to continue having a good rapport with our officers. They're being put in dangerous and confusing situations where they have to determine who's acting under the law, who's acting under the color of law and who's not. That uncertainty puts our officers at risk, puts our community at risk. That's why I'm calling on our state and federal legislators, Assemblymember Blanca Pacheco, Senator Lina Gonzalez, and Congressman Robert Garcia. Help us. We need laws that require any agency operating in our neighborhoods to clearly identify themselves. No more masks, no more marked vehicles, no more fear. We need accountability, we need transparency, and we need it now. Our families deserve to walk their children to school without fear. Our workers deserve to leave their homes without worrying about being taken off the streets by someone hiding behind a mask. Our officers deserve clear protocols that protect them from liability and harm. Bell Gardens has always been resilient. We are not defined by fear. We are defined by how we show up for one another. Let's stay grounded, let's stay united, let's stay informed. Because when we protect each other, we protect the soul of this community, of this city. We are not powerless, we are not alone, and we cannot remain silent. Not in our streets, not here in Bell Gardens, because remember the saying that they say, el pueblo unido jamás será vencido. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Councilwoman Dr. De Leon Sanchez. I'd like to pass it over to Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa.
Thank you so much. Soy hijo de, orgullosamente soy hijo de padres inmigrantes. Este tema me rompe el corazón. Ver a mis familiares, mis amistades y nuestra comunidad aterrorizada acerca de estas acciones de, entre comillas, agentes federales es sumamente devastador. En estos momentos existe mucha incertidumbre. La claridad es mínima. Esta neblina está inmensamente espesa. Estas son circunstancias aterradoras. Y lo que hemos visto a lo largo de estas últimas 2 semanas me da esperanza. He visto a nuestra comunidad apoyarse uno al otro, informándose lo más que puedan. Y esa conexión que tenemos como unión, como comunidad, eso no lo podrá romper ninguna agencia federal. Así que sigamos unidos, sigámonos apoyando uno al otro, porque esto seguirá siendo una resistencia a lo largo de los siguientes 4 años con esta administración, y tenemos que estar listos y tenemos que tener estos recursos y las acciones, ¿no?, que van a llegar en el futuro. Quiero agradecerle al público por atender esta junta, ya sea virtualmente o o aquí en persona. Hemos tenido una conversación productiva y estamos contando con el apoyo y la guía legal de nuestro equipo para seguir tomando pasos, cuidadosamente, ¿no? En estos momentos de incertidumbre hay tres cosas sumamente importantes y esos son la unidad, la información y la acción. Estamos tomando estos pasos con responsabilidad, con el bienestar de nuestra comunidad y como prioridad. Les doy muchas gracias por su paciencia, su fuerza y por nunca dejar de cuidar unos a los otros. Esto es va a ser un maratón, pero unidos juntos vamos a seguir avanzando y todo va a estar mejor. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much for that, Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa. For my comments, this has been one of the hardest meetings I've been on since serving on this council. I feel there's a lot of emotion, a lot of rage, a lot of it's hard to capture the things that I continually see. I feel that it's my responsibility as the leader of this community to ensure that you all are safe. That is my number one priority. That you all can walk on our streets safe. That when you call our police, they respond. That when you feel endangered, there are people there to support you. That we can be good neighbors to one another. What we're going through in these moments is a violation of our rights. It's unacceptable. I want to condemn what the federal government is doing to our people, to the minorities of this country. The minorities that day after day, night after night, work in and day out to keep this economy functioning, to give this country back what it gave us. I think a lot about my family members, some that cannot be here because of fear. I think a lot about the people that I work with. Janitors. I think about workers and the anxiety that each of them feels. We all saw what happened to our U.S. Senator last week. And I said it, if that's how they treated him, imagine how they're treating our people. These cowards son cobardes because they hide behind a mask. They hide and they try to intimidate us and they're hunting us down. And I want all of you to be safe. I don't want to see more of our community members being picked up. I want to do everything I can to protect each and every one of you. And that is why I've said that if you don't have to go outside, please don't go outside. Because at any moment they could strike. And me, mayor, as the council, our police chief, there's only so much we can do. So what I can do is to stay home, stay safe, check in on your loved ones. Know that the city's gonna do everything we can to provide necessities, to provide medications, to provide groceries, you name it. I don't know how long this is gonna go for. I don't know what's gonna happen next. I have to think of what's the worst that could happen. right? What if all of them just rush into this community? What are we going to do as a community? What am I supposed to do as your leader to go outside and confront them? I responded to somebody on one of the comments, and they asked me for help. They said, "Where are you? We need you out there." And I tell them that I can't do it alone. I need all of you. We need all of you. The council needs all of us. I want you to know that we're here to support you, we're here to protect you, and we're going to do everything in our power within the realm of the law to hold justice and hold these individuals accountable. We'll get past this. I have faith we'll get past this, because this isn't the first time this has happened to our community. It's happened in the past, right? So with that said, I want to leave everybody with the message of hope. Yesterday at Mass, the priest said, let's pray for these individuals, because they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand the impacts they're causing to our families, right? Let's hope that they change their heart. Let's hope they see the light. I'll continue to march, to protest, to organize. I'll continue to be there as much as I can. And I invite all of you to be there too. Like I said, we can't do it alone. With that said, I'll go ahead and like to adjourn this meeting, City Council Successor Agency at 9:08 p.m. Thank you so much, everybody.